So this movie was kind of like, they went to the director and they said, hey, we want you to make a movie about Catwoman. And he was kind of like, okay, you want me to make a movie about cats and women? And they were like, no, the comic book character, but he was gone, okay? He was already writing and planning this movie that has nothing to do with the comic book character, Catwoman. So let's get into it. Alright, so first off, let's talk about the rating for this movie. We only rate movies that are 50% or lower on Rotten Tomatoes, and that includes the critic or the user review, in most cases both. This movie had a critic score of 9% and a user score of 18%. So the users were a little less harsh on it, but 18% is still like way low. I mean, one of the lowest user scores. So let's get into talking about what went wrong with this movie that should have been great. Alright, so first of all, I'd like to talk about what this movie did right. I really am drawing a blank. I mean, when I'm watching the movie and I'm writing my notes, I am drawing a complete blank on what works about this movie. Every cardinal sin of a superhero movie is committed by this movie unapologetically. It does not stick to the source material. We'll get into all of that in our next section. But, you know, I was tempted to say that what worked was casting, because Halle Berry is great. A lot of the supporting actors actually do a pretty good job with what they were given, but in this movie, Halle Berry is terrible. She didn't want to do it. It was terrible writing. I mean, the dialogue, no actress could make that dialogue be good. So I wanted to say the casting and the acting, but not even that. So really, I've got nothing good to say about this movie. It is your classic example of a bad superhero movie. So let's get to the nitty-gritty of what didn't work. Alright, so the first thing that doesn't work about this movie is that this movie is a romantic comedy mixed with a superhero movie, and neither thing works, okay? It fails at both things so spectacularly that it's a spectacle to watch. Like the first 25 to 30 minutes of this movie, it is literally just a romantic comedy. There is just no evidence that we're about to get into a superhero movie at all, or a comic book movie. It follows, Patience, who's our main character, who is shy. She's an artist. She meets a guy. They go on dates, and it's just, you've got all your characters. You got the thirsty friend at work who's hitting on all the guys and calls him man meat or man sandwich or something. She's got the gay friend. She's got, the timid personality. It's all of the tropes. She works for a makeup company. It's just all the tropes of a romantic comedy. Then you have all the tropes of a superhero movie. As you get further into it, you've got these terrible, R&B backed, early 2000 action sequences that are just so hard to watch with, bad CGI, with this girl who was raised from the dead by magical cats. I can't make this up. And for some reason, because these magical cats are giving her this new power, she also gets this new attitude. And it doesn't play out like she was given confidence. It plays out like she was possessed by a cat demon. So it's just weird the whole time. The action sequences, some of them are okay. Some of them are the worst you'll ever see. And it just plays on every cliche you have about romantic comedies and superhero movies. The second problem I have with this movie is that it has this feminist message, these sort of undertones that are sprinkled throughout about how, as a woman you should, respect the duality of where you're nurturing but also fierce, and how you should stand up for yourself and be confident. All great messages, and then it undercuts those messages itself. So there's a scene where, first of all, her mentor is a crazy cat lady. It's a lady with just a ton of cats. And she goes to her mentor, and the mentor says, you got to respect this duality or whatever, talking about the cat god Basque, who was the god of life and death, or something along those lines. And the very next scene after that is literally like a close-up, like 360 shot of the skimpiest Catwoman outfit. Like, they took the already like super tight leather outfit that Catwoman wears and just took pieces of it off and like shredded some of it up. And that's like the next scene. And so you're like, which one are we going with? Are we going with male fantasy superhero movie, or are we going with, female-centric, female-positive message? They don't know which one to do. Most of the time, it's this one, and it's painfully obvious. And on that note, let's talk about a movie that does it well, in my mind. Not being a woman, you're watching Captain Marvel, and the point of Captain Marvel is also to have a pro-female, women's rights message. It has all of these themes in the movie where she's trusting her gut, and that's what's getting her through. She's got all these men in authority telling her, you got to suppress that, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. She rises above by pushing back against that. You think about that end scene where she meets whatever Jude Law's character's name was, and he's like, no powers, let's just fight. And she just wrecks him with her powers because she's more powerful than him. And he was trying to suppress that, and she has no reason or anything to prove to him. And I thought that was just such a great message and a great thing. Like, if I had a daughter, I would want her to get that message, which is that you are powerful and you don't need a man, you don't have anything to prove to anyone to be powerful. And the whole movie has nothing to do with women as a sex symbol. Catwoman, this director made no effort to understand women. I mean, just the fact that her whole story revolves around her working and taking down this evil makeup empire, and her mentor's a crazy cat lady. I mean, there's so many female stereotypes. I just don't think that Hollywood was prepared to make this movie, and it wouldn't be such a big deal except for they have all these little nods to the fact that they're trying to do that sprinkled in, but they're so half-assed that it's just, you don't believe it. Lastly, I want to talk about respecting the source material. The whole time I'm watching this movie and just cringing through these scenes, I'm thinking to myself, what a waste. I mean, I'm thinking about Anne Hathaway, Selena Kyle from Dark Knight Rises. That would have been an amazing movie. That was more akin to the comic books. And I think one thing that the MCU, and the reason they're killing it, is because they're tapping into the comic books. I mean, it's a proven medium. Okay, these things were popular. These stories were read by millions. Okay, Selena Kyle, depending on which story you look at, they're all pretty similar. She's an orphan. She raises herself in the streets of Gotham. She learns martial arts. She has to be a thief to survive, and she gets by. And she turns out to be Batman's equal in most stories, by just sheer determination and willpower. And that is such a better movie than this timid artist who just magically gets cat powers and is raised from the dead and is suddenly possessed by some cat demon that makes her act more tough. The other thing is they keep throwing in these scenes after she is resurrected by the cat goddess, where it's showing that like she has cat-like things now. Like she is just sitting around eating cans of tuna. She's making cat puns, like saying meow. She's scared of dogs. She hisses at them. She's jumping up on stuff just while she's on the phone, just chilling, jumping up on stuff. She's like wolfing down sushi during a date. She just loves fish. We get it. She's a cat. Okay? We get that she's the cat woman. Okay? We get it. It's rubbing it in your face that we're literally talking about a cat woman all movie long. And at no point do you want that. So let's talk about the hardest moment to watch. So, You might be thinking you already know what I'm going to say because there's an iconic scene from this movie, and if you haven't seen it, look up Catwoman basketball scene. That's definitely one of the worst scenes in any superhero movie, but just for the sake of being original, we'll pick something else. But that's definitely the runner-up, so go check that out. If you don't watch the whole movie, just watch that part and you'll get the gist of this movie. But my hardest to watch moment was actually the scene where she goes to visit her mentor. She's led there by this cat who's like thousands of years old. He's a cutie though. And this is after she's resurrected and she wants answers, and she knows this cat lady has answers. So she goes to the cat lady, and the cat lady is like saying, "Oh, you're a cat person now?" And she's like not buying it. She's like, this is not true. And the cat lady takes out this big ball of catnip and throws it to her, and she just immediately starts rubbing it all over her face. And it's like, again, we get it. She's a Catwoman, all right? And it's so hard to watch an A-list celebrity like Halle Berry in a movie that's supposed to be about a orphan turned martial artist thief who's actually in a movie about a magical Catwoman rubbing a ball of catnip on her face to show you that she is now a Catwoman. That is just, it's a sight to see. It really is. And it hurts to say it, it hurts to see it. It hurts that it exists. All right, and finally, let's talk about who I agree with. So who was right? The critics or the users? On this one, unfortunately, I'm actually going to have to... I actually don't agree with the critics, and I don't agree with the users, because neither of them said 0. Okay? And I cannot stress to you enough how terrible this movie is on every level. I don't even want to rate it, because then it's in the same bracket as some other bad superhero movies, which at least managed to be somewhat good. That may sound harsh to you, that I gave a higher score to Blank Man than I did Catwoman, but their general lack of attempt, Pytov, I think is the name of the director, his general lack of attempt to make a movie for comic book readers about this amazing character is just laughable. It's lazy, and no one involved with this even wanted to do it, and that is clear. Okay, the movie just phones it in, and it's ends up being a formulaic romantic comedy mixed with a superhero movie that has nothing to do with anything that anyone actually wanted to see. So, alright everybody, thank you so much for watching another one of my videos. If you thought I was too harsh, let me know in the comments. If you thought I wasn't harsh enough, I don't know what to tell you. Let me know in the comments, but I don't know what else I could have said. If you want to see a specific movie for my next review, let me know in the comments as well. If you liked it, like it. If you want to subscribe to it, subscribe to it. If you want to get notifications, well, go ahead and click that notification button. Silly. My deepest apologies for that. I think that's about it. Thanks.